Okay, hi guys, it's time for another video from runhorse.com, and this is one I've been looking forward to do for a while. We're going to talk today about how to pick winners in horse racing, which is known as handicapping. And the term handicapping, what that means, it means picking winners basically. It's the art of selecting winners, okay? And you use all the information and statistics available that you have. So it's actually more of a skill or an art as opposed to a science, okay? Because we all know things can happen at a horse race. It can be unpredictable, but it is interesting. And this is a hobby, and some people do take it seriously. It's kind of akin to picking stocks in the stock market, where you would go ahead and take a look at past performances, things like that, of what the stock has done and what it can do in the future, or it's similar to trying to pick winners in an NFL game or a baseball series, World Series, and which team do you like the best, looking at the statistics, and then evaluating the chances of the team, or in this case the horse, of winning the race. So that's what handicapping is basically, okay? And this tutorial is going to help you become a better handicapper or a race picker. And what we do here at runhorse.com, we have a software, proprietary software, which we developed, which takes into account quite a few different factors. And we put all these factors, they have different weights and different things like that, and we put them all together, and that's hopefully going to give us a good idea of what's going to happen in the race. Now again, nothing is 100% in horse racing, so that's the fun of it. It's unpredictable. When the gates open, anything can happen. The jockey could fall off, the horse could stumble, take a bad step. These kind of things happen. Could have a bad day even. Horses are animals, they're not machines. So anyone who tells you a horse is 100% surety, believe me, there's no 100% surety in this world, especially in horse racing. Somebody says horse is a lock, there's no guarantee on anything. So I've seen many heavy favorites lose and people just looking shocked. So it can happen. So that's the fun of this game too, you know. Sometimes the favorite does go out there and win by 10 lengths. Now when I'm talking about the favorite, I'm talking about the horse that has the most money bet on it, which the public thinks has the best chance to win the race. Okay, so let's get into these factors that I was talking about, and I'm actually going to break this down into two videos because we got quite a few factors to cover, so let's get into it right now, okay? Okay, the first factors we're going to look at here are track, course, post position, and distance factors, okay? So, you know, if you want to get into the race, these are some things that you can look at. And again, you know, everyone has their own style of handicapping. Like I said, it's an art as opposed to a science. So you're going to have to weigh each of these factors and determine which one do you think is the most important, okay? And this will give you a little idea, you know, a little more advanced than just picking a color or a number or something like that. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, let's take a look at the distance we're running today, okay? So has the horse, he or she, run well previously at today's distance? Now this is going to be an important factor, okay? Some horses have never run at the distance, for example, okay? A horse might be running at 6 furlongs early in its career, might now today be stretching out to a mile, okay? This is something that's very important, okay? Has the horse run well at this distance before, okay? So say this horse has a record at 6 furlongs of run 8 times and has 3 wins, a second, and a third. Okay, so that would put it 5 times in the money. This is an example I'm giving you, 3 wins out of 10 starts. It's pretty good. It's about a 33% win percentage, a little bit better. So 50% in the money. So the horse, I would say the horse handles the distance pretty well. Okay, we could take another horse at 6 furlongs, take a look at the past performances. Okay, that's what we're going to use to evaluate the races. Past performances are basically, used to be the daily racing form, but now there's other competitors out there, and it's just statistics of the running lines of the horse and all the horses in the race of what they've done, and that's very, very important. Otherwise, you're just guessing. You really don't know what's going on. So you take a look at that, and you'll see today's distance, and you'll sometimes the statistics are right there in the form, and it shows you at what the horse has done at the distance. So. As opposed to a horse that has not run well at the distance, that would be, I would consider, a negative factor. Okay, so a horse might have 10 starts at 6 furlongs, and he or she has only won once, maybe a third. Okay, so that's only 2 out of 10 in the money. It's not too good. Only 1 win out of 10. So this horse is probably likely a long shot at the distance. Okay, it does not handle the distance well. Again, we're talking about horses sometimes that are stretching out in distance or shortening up in distance, okay? And stretching out means that you're going from a shorter distance to a longer distance, okay? So you have a horse now that's running, say, 6 furlongs, and he's stretching out, going a longer distance to a mile or maybe even longer distance, okay? And those horses are unproven at the distance, okay? So this is something to take a look at, okay? Doesn't mean the horse won't handle the distance. Sometimes we have to go by pedigree. We have to go by the horse itself, how it looks. Is it taking money? There could be quite a few different things. The trainer can be a factor. All these different things. Usually they'll have an idea. The trainer, the training of the horse, if it can handle a longer distance. Vice versa, can be an interesting factor when a horse is braking quick. It's running fast early in the races, maybe going a mile and a 16th, and going up there on the front end on the pace. And just has a little bit of a lackluster performance in the final furlong, falters in that final 16th of a mile. That definitely would be something to look at if the horse is shortening up now, shortening up to 7 furlongs or 6 furlongs, something like that. So that would be a factor to look at. Okay. Now, does the horse handle the racing surface, the track or the racing surface? Okay. Does the horse like the racetrack? Does the horse handle the surface? Okay, we could talk about turf, dirt, or synthetic. Okay, that's normally the possibilities we can run on. Also, could be looking at a sloppy track. Okay, so does the horse run well on the surface? Okay, does the horse like, if the race is on turf today, does the horse like to run on turf? Okay, has the horse done well on turf, or has it performed poorly? Or is it the first time on the surface? Okay, sometimes the first time on the surface can be an interesting proposition. If a horse is bred for turf, or a horse has not done well in the dirt, sometimes the trainer will switch to the turf, and sometimes the horse can be a price. First time on the turf can be an angle to look at, so you don't necessarily want to discount that. Again, there's some horses that run well on an off track, or some horses that run well on a synthetic. They might run well on a synthetic track, okay? Synthetic is a synthetic dirt track. That's what we're talking about here, okay? Also called poly track. And they have like at Woodbine in Toronto. We have at Woodbine, you have a synthetic track, okay? And switching over to, used to be a Keeneland also, but they changed it back to a dirt track. So it's not quite as much of a factor now, but some horses would really handle that synthetic surface and other horses won't. And sometimes the synthetic surfaces favor more speed horses. And that seems to be the case in my experience. So those are things to look at, okay? Next, we take a look at the horse's post position. Okay, the post position is where the horse is located in the starting gate. Okay, so now not always corresponds to the running, the horse's number in the race. So keep that in mind. Horse number 1 does not always break from the number 1 post. That's closest to the rail. Goes from closest to the rail out, okay, from the starting position. So a horse from number 10 post is on the outside. He's going to have to cover more ground out of the gate to try to get over to the rail. So it can be a little bit of a factor at times. Depends on the race. In a sprint race, which I would consider less than a mile, 7 furlongs, 6 furlongs, a one-turn race. Those kind of breaks, the horse has a lot of time because you're running on a long straightaway in one turn. It's a lot of time to break from the gate and get over. So it might not be as negative a factor. On a longer race, a mile and a 16th, a mile and a quarter, sometimes there's a short runner at that first turn. Depends on the track. And that outside post can have trouble sometimes getting over. They try to get out of the gate and they can be hung wide and lose ground. So that's an important thing to look at. So I really don't like to see a horse in a longer race, a 2-turn race, breaking from the outside post position. I would consider that a negative factor. Unless the horse has really good gate speed, it can maybe get out and clear the field, get over and get a good position. Okay, there's always that chance that a couple inside horses are going to go and push, and they're going to cause that horse to be hung wide. And so that's a factor to look at. Now, in a sprint race, would actually favor the outside positions a lot of times. You would think it would be the opposite, but no, the inside position can be at a disadvantage because the outside has a lot of time, can look over and see and avoid trouble because sometimes there's a fight for that inside position, and that outside can just sit in there, maybe tuck in second, third, fourth, something like that, and get a nice run. And so it's actually not too much of a detriment on a sprint race, in my opinion. So again, depends on the horse if it has speed or not, but this is something to take a look at. Post position, okay? Is the horse shipping in to run today? Okay. Horses that ship in means they're coming from another track. They had to be shipped there, they had to be sent and transported there. So those horses usually are going to be trying to win. A lot of times the horse is shipped in for a stake race, for example, for a high class race. A lot of your graded stakes races, obviously the horses will travel because they're high quality horses and they're running for that big money. So that's something to look at. A horse shipping into a track, normally there's an added expense to a horse shipping. So that horse is gonna probably be trying to win the race, and the connections would like to win the race. So that's definitely something to take a look at. Okay, is the horse changing distances today? A lot of good price winners. I did touch on that a second ago. Will be changing up in distance. Okay, maybe something the trainer sees the horse wants to go a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. Okay, sometimes the horse that will be enough to get the horse to the winner's circle. Horse sometimes going from 6 furlongs and the horse is not really quite running there, and the trainer says, okay, let's try it at a mile, let's try it at a mile and a 16th, and sometimes that's enough to get it done, or vice versa, cut back in distance. So take a look at those distance changes. A horse all of a sudden is running 6 furlongs all the time, and all of a sudden he's stretching out or cutting back, and that's something to take a look at. And like I said, that will often times be a good price winner, okay, because the people are not really expecting that. They're not paying attention to that distance change, and that's something that will spark a price, okay? Because the favorite might be running good at the distance, but here we have another horse that's changing distances, and now he could be a factor. Okay, let's see here. We can also look at main track only race. Okay, this will apply to main track only, is also listed as MTO, and that applies to races coming off the turf and changing to the main track. And some horses are entered MTO. Okay, MTO is main track only, and if they expect rain, it's a possibility. Or normally in a turf race, you might see some of these horses that are MTO. Normally they're scratched, okay, unless there's rain, because if the horse is entered in that type of race, the trainer is hoping that the race will come off the turf. And that horse is entered for main track only, which means they do not want to run on the turf course. If there's enough rain and the race comes off the turf, a lot of times those turf horses will scratch, will go onto the main track, and the horse has a possibility of drawing in there and performing well. So look for those main track only horses when the race comes off the turf onto a wet track. Those horses usually win the majority of those races because those turf horses do not normally like that wet track. And a lot of times some will be scratched, and sometimes the trainer will say, okay, let's take a chance, but that's normally not their preferred surface. Okay, let's take a look too now. Let's get into second series of factors, starts and layoff factor. Okay, and we're going to take a look at how long has the horse been off. Okay, how much time in between races. Okay, this is an important factor. A lot of people don't really take a look at that. Okay, and in my opinion, a good quality race now, a good decent quality horse, allowance, high class claiming, to me those are the most consistent type of races to look at. And those horses will perform well normally with a 30 to 60 day break. Okay, that's what I like to see in between races. Now, it sounds like a lot, but these horses are running for pretty good money nowadays. Allowance races can be 50,000, 100,000, New York, Kentucky, California, Florida. So some of these races there, the horses don't need to run as much as they used to. They win a 3, 4, 5 races a year, and they turn a good profit. So and again, a horse coming in fresh is definitely something I like. A little bit of break in between the race, a 30-day, 45 days in between break, and that's just enough time for the horse to recuperate and to have time to regain its stamina and to likely perform well. So if the horse has been running well and you see a 30-day break, 60-day break, something like that, I think that's pretty good. Anything over than 60 days, 2 months, I start to get might be a little too much. The horse maybe had a little issue and they didn't get a chance to get it back to the track in time, might need a tightener, a prep race. So that's something to take a look at. So that's what I like to see. Horses that have been off for more than 90 days, which is 3 months, approximately 90 days, I go with the day factor. Those horses normally need a race to tighten up, so I kind of take that as a negative factor. Horses that have been off for more than 3 months, more than 90 days, but you have to look again at the trainer, the quality of the horse, Is there a reason for the break? Did the horse need a freshening? And sometimes they can run well. Okay. Now we take a look also as how many starts has the horse had this year or in the last 2 years. This is something I like to look at, okay? Because a lot of these, some of these horses, in my opinion, are over-raced. Too many starts is obviously is going to be more stress on the horse, more stress on the body, and age starts creeping in there as well, and the horse can be over-raced, and it just gets a little tired. It's not going to be at its peak. So again, I like to see those around 30-day breaks in between races. To me, I think that's just about right. 45 days, and the horse can be right, and not too many starts. Okay, so let's take a look at how many starts we would say. I like to see less than 13 starts over the last 2 years. Okay, it sounds a little strange, that number, but that's what we've come up with. We've looked at statistics, and we say around 13 starts, more than that, in 2 years' time, starts to put a little pressure on the horse, especially those higher class horses. Okay, you're going to see like some of these lower class claimers, some of your very inexpensive races. I don't want to call them cheap because, I guess they are cheaper class, but more inexpensive quality horses. They will run more because the purses are lower and they have to try to recoup costs. So those horses, obviously, they have more races and they're not quite as consistent normally, but your good quality horses, which is what I like to focus on more normally, higher class claimer, 25,000 and above, will be a little more consistent, especially into that 30, 40, 50,000 range. Horses don't run as much. Allowance horses, of course, stakes horses, those horses do not run that much, so they're expecting to be trained up to the minute and ready when they run. So they expect it to run well, and they're lightly raced normally. And a lightly raced horse can have benefits, so I like to see that. We'll delve into factor number 3 here, odds factors. What are the morning line odds? Okay, the morning line odds, okay, and again, if you want to refer to anything, I'm going to put the link in this tutorial on YouTube. We'll have this link posted, and this is all available on runhorse.com, and we have a page about how to pick winners in horse racing, and I'm also going to post this video there also when I'm done with this, okay? So you can go ahead and review this information, and we also have a lot of terminology. If you don't understand any of the words that I'm using, any things that I'm saying, you can go ahead and refer back to our terminology. So we have a lot of information there, and that's what the website's designed for, okay? So what are the morning line odds? Okay, the morning line odds are the odds set by the track handicapper, and those are what he or she expects the odds to be. Okay, so they're a guesstimate. Let's put it that way. Okay, and most horses that win races are actually less than 20 to 1 morning line odds. Okay, so the person that's setting these odds, they have a pretty good idea normally what they're doing. They follow that track. Some have been doing this for a long time, many years at that track, that facility, so they have a good idea of what the odds should be on the horses. Now, when they put a horse 20 to 1 morning line or higher, that horse normally has a lower winning percentage, in my opinion, okay? And sometimes you'll actually see these horses overbet. You'll see 20 to 1, 25 to 1 morning line bet down to 15 to 1, 10 to 1, and to me that's normally not a good play. Vice versa, surprisingly, many good price winners will go off as overlays, okay? An overlay to their morning line, which means they go off as higher than posted morning line odds. So, for example, a track handicapper puts the horse at 8 to 1 on the morning line. It's not quite a favorite, it's mid-range, it's a little bit of an outsider, but he sees something, he or she sees something in the horse that it gives it a possibility today. And all of a sudden the public is disregarding this horse, and it's going out at maybe 12 to 1, 14 to 1, 15 to 1. And those kind of horses usually can factor in there, and sometimes win the race. And they go off at better than the morning line odds. So look for those possibilities. Look for horses that are 8 to 1, 6 to 1 morning line, 10 to 1, 12 to 1 that are going off at a little higher than those odds. 6 to 1 going off at 10, 12 to 1. 10 to 1 shot going off at 15, 20 to 1. Sometimes that's your 20, 25 to 1 long shot for the day. And could be a horse that you should have maybe took a look at because the track handicapper gave it some chance. But the betting public was fooled by this horse, okay. Now let's take a look at beaten favorites. A lot of times a horse is a favorite for a reason, okay. So a horse is favored because it's expected to run well. It has either good credentials, good past performances, good jockey, all kind of different factors can factor in there. Obviously, the horse has probably done something or trained well up to the minute to be a favorite. Okay, so sometimes there's something goes wrong in the race. The horse was favored, was supposed to do well, and took a bad stumble, or didn't feel well that day. Could have been a little under the weather, and the trainer didn't know, or the jockey didn't know, or just wasn't itself. And so let's take a look at a horse that was favored in its last 3 starts. That's something to take a look at, okay? Because the horse might have had a bad race. It happens. Athletes, they have a bad game, just like your favorite football player or favorite baseball player. They have a bad day at the office, and I'm sure you've had bad days too. And horses are the same, okay? A horse can win 4 or 5 races in a row, or run first, second, third, and then all of a sudden throw in a bad race. And it just could have been that day. It could have been the track condition. It could have been something. It could have been the horse did not break well. It could have been maybe it was used too much early, and the horse just ran out of gas, or was in the wrong position in the race. So take a look at that. And sometimes those horses that were favored the last time that failed, that ran up the track, next time out they come back and they perform well, and they're usually this time at much better odds, 5 to 1 to 10 to 1 range. It's not uncommon, and they'll go out and sometimes they'll win impressively. And that's something to definitely take a look at. Okay, so now let's take a look at also is the favorite beatable. Okay, now everyone is, in my opinion, or I'm always looking to beat the favorite, because the favorite is has the most money bet on it, and it's going to be paying the least amount of money. So most people go to the track to looking to make money or try to win a nice amount of money. So we all look for that. So we're looking for horses that are going to have a potential to pay something, okay? So look, we take a look. One way to back handicap at that, instead of just saying, okay, maybe there's a race and it just looks impossible. It just looks, wow, it just looks so tough. I mean, there's races like that. It just looks like so many horses have a chance to win. But the public is keying in on this one horse, okay? So in my opinion, this horse is overbet, okay? This horse is overbet because there's 4 or 5 good solid chances when I'm handicapping the race and looking at it. I think that the race could play out a couple different ways, and it's never guaranteed, but you have to figure out, try to picture how it's going to play out. And for that reason, a horse going off at heavy favor, even money, odds on, or even 8 to 5 or less in that race is a bad betting proposition. Okay, so to me, it's a beatable favorite. Okay, a horse that has a chance to get beat. And that's the situation I'm looking for. So a beatable favorite is a horse that I can say it's a favorite, but it's overbet, so I can probably take a chance. I'm going to play against that horse. It's not like I don't like it. I think it has a chance, but I think its rivals have a good chance, if not better, to beat it. So I'll look at my 3, 4 horses that I picked, and I'll look at those, and I'll look for a good odds play, maybe an exacta or trifecta, something like that, or even a win bet, a win place show on one of those longer price horses. Again, maybe mix up the exotics with that, and so that would be for a good payout. So that's what we're looking for, is the favorite beatable, and that's something I take a look at, because again, this tutorial is going to try to help you not only pick winners, but I like to pick winners that are decent price winners, because that's the way you make money in this game. Because anybody can just look at the toe board and see 4 to 5 and go up there and make a bet. So I see people that bet like that, and they buy the racing form of the past performances, and it's almost laughable, because what do they do with it when they go up and bet the favorite? I mean, basically, you don't need the form. If you're a favorite player, you can just look up and bet the toe board, and you might have a good chance there also. So, okay, let's take a look also. Has the horse won at high odds in the past? Okay, now this is an interesting factor to pick long shots, because in my opinion, or actually statistics bear this out. We've done a lot of statistical analysis on races, believe me, and horses that do win at high odds previously tend to win at high odds again. Okay, why? I don't know. They're just often, sometimes they're overlooked. Horses, they can be overlooked for some reasons. They don't come from a top barn. This trainer does not use like the top jockey all the time. Maybe this horse is known for, maybe this trainer, that's what he does. He takes the horse out, puts him on turf, puts him on dirt, moves him around, different distances, different tracks. So things like that happen. Sometimes a long shot winner, all of a sudden, a horse, they figured something out with the horse, okay? This can happen sometimes with horses. The trainer, he does something behind the scenes, maybe a different kind of medication or something, gives the horse, or a different kind of food or different kind of training, and the horse responds to that. Okay, so that horse might all of a sudden he gets into his groove and they figured the horse out. You might hear a trainer talk about that. We figured this horse out, and he goes out there and wins it as a long shot odds, 20, 25 to 1. Okay, so sometimes the betting public think, oh, that was a fluke. But really, the horse just got into his groove, and they just got what they wanted out of him. So next time out, the horse is obviously going to be less odds, but still could be 10 to 1. I see this quite common. A horse winning at 25. Next time out goes off at 8 to 1, 7, 8 to 1 range, and it probably has a better chance than that, and goes out and wins again. Sometimes wins impressively. So that's just something to take a look at. And I'll often notice when I see those long shots win, I'll see those $40, $50 horses. And I look through the past performance, and I see that they've won prior, maybe 4 or 5 races back, maybe further, and they've won at those high odds. So if you're looking for those long shots, look for a horse that's won previously as a long shot.